Begin our meeting January 19th, 2010, at the Falls Township Board of Supervisors at it's like 7:32. We'll begin with a salute to the flag, please.
This is the Falls Township Governmental Access Channel 22 on Comcast and Cable Channel 40 on Verizon. You're about to view the Falls Township Board of Supervisor meeting for January 19th, 2010. This program was pre-recorded earlier for playback at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Pullen, can you take roll, please?
Mr. Zupka?
Here.
Mrs. Posofsky?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Mr. Dent?
Here.
Smith?
Here. Okay, thank you very much. Before we get to our business here, we have some presentations that Mr. Gray is going to make. As we know, we've had for the past few years now had a house decorating contest around the holiday time, doing what we can to recognize those neighbors and friends of ours who have gone above and beyond to make the holiday season extra special, to brighten up our streets and also our moods a little bit. We have people every year can nominate either themselves or neighbors, friends, and then we have some people from the township that go out and do some judging, and we have 5 winners every year, and Mr. Gray is going to present them with some gift as well as a certificate. Mr. Gray, all yours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As mentioned, there are 5 families that were picked for this program, and coming in 5th place is the Clucratic family at 210 Austin Drive. Unfortunately, they were unable to attend tonight. Coming in 4th place is the Winesek family located at 213 Austin Drive. Is there a representative?
Mm-hmm.
Coming in 3rd place is John and Jean Curran, located at 35 Yardley Avenue.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Great job.
Coming in 2nd place is Joe Lilinski at 9 Franklin Street. And 1st place was Charles Klemus at 438 Lakeside Drive. And Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors, that's everybody we have for this year, and I just want to thank everybody for participating in the program. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I thank them as well, and all the other houses that were nominated. A lot of it's never easy to judge the houses, of course, but we appreciate all their efforts that people go through. Obviously, they do it not necessarily to win our contest here. They do it to make this holiday season better for themselves and for everybody else. So we appreciate that, and it's our way of recognizing you. And I want to thank Mr. Gray for his efforts, as well as the Park and Rec Department, Mr. Reese for all the work they did in helping us with this year. All right? So thank you, gentlemen, again, and congratulations to all the winners. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on with our agenda items here. Agenda item number 1 is consider approval of American Pool Management Agreement for the Pinewood Pool for 2010. Mr. Gray.
Yes, thank you. The Park and Rec Department has secured a quote for the upcoming pool season with American Pool Management. The rate for 2010 is $97,000. This is a decrease from the prior year of $2,000. At this time, the board is asked to consider American Pool Management for the upcoming pool season. Tonight, to answer any questions you may have, is Bill Reese, Director of Park and Recreation, and Jeff Lawler from American Pool Management.
Okay. Mr. Reese?
Good evening.
Good evening. If you don't mind, just for, obviously, we'd like it if everybody went to the Pinewood Pool. We know not everybody does. So just give us an idea what exactly American Pool Management does. What's involved in managing the pool?
Sure. American Pool Management is in charge of our the entire staff. That would include our lifeguards, pool manager, assistant pool manager, the concession stand workers, and our gate guards. It's approximately 21, 22 people altogether that are employed by American Pool Management to staff our pool.
Okay. And they handle the salaries, they handle the, and benefits, all that kind
Yes.
of thing? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Maintenance obviously is done by Falls Township.
Correct.
On the pool. The day-to-day operations, like you said, are handled by American Pool Management. How long have we used American Pool Management at our pool?
I'm going to say since I've been here, so 7, 8 years probably going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And you're satisfied with the job they do? You have the most direct impact? Or,
Yes, I'm there virtually
contact
every
with
day, and either by phone or in person. And I think overall, we're pretty pleased with what goes on. The staff does really a great job year in, year out. As you know, being a lifeguard is not easy. There's a lot of certifications and trainings that they have to go through. When they're there 7 days a week, in some cases, they have to be focused. They're there for safety reasons. They're there to save lives so people don't get hurt or drown or anything like that. And I say over the year, seems like each year we have a little bit less saves every year, which is a good sign.
Okay.
It's a good sign for our staff. But our pool manager, Tim Bay, does a great job. He's been with us since I've been here. So.
All right. Okay. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
Yeah, just a comment. I noticed where it's $2,000 less than it was for the '09 season, and that's good to hear. I think you've been doing a good job with it, and
Great.
hopefully it will continue.
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes. I was the first lifeguard hired in 1954 at the Fearless Hills Pool, and I appreciate the job that you do at the Pinewood Pool. I no longer look good in a bathing suit, so I don't come swimming, but congratulations on your award tonight.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman, everything I hear about American Pool Management is good.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No, no questions.
Okay. All right. Is there any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay. Is there a motion then? We're looking at a total cost of $97,000 to American Pool Management for the 2010 season.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we award the 2010 season at the Pinewood Pool to American Pool Management at a total cost of $97,000.
Okay. Motion made. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mr. Zupka. Mrs. Pullen, poll the board, please.
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to a good year. Okay. All right, second item on our agenda is the consideration of purchasing a new dump truck for the Public Works Department. Mr. Gray?
Yes, thank you. Joe Arneo, Public Works Foreman, has secured a quote for a 2010 International truck. This truck will be used in the Public Works fleet and will serve a variety of purposes. The Township has budgeted funding for this truck in the 2010 budget. Total cost of the truck, along with all the parts, is $145,971. This time, the board is asked to consider approval of this purchase, and here to discuss this item in detail, if you have any questions, also is Joe Arneo, Public Works Foreman.
Okay. All right, Mr. Arneo, if you wouldn't mind coming forward here. Just give us an idea of obviously what the uses will be for this truck. What do you see this truck doing for us? And maybe is this replacing a truck? Are we getting rid of one or just adding one? And I'll let you go ahead and answer that.
Good evening. I'll give you a picture so you have
Sure.
the number. This is our 2008 International, which is a duplicate.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Arneo.
All right, so we need an exact copy of this in terms of the plow in the front and everything else.
The truck will look pretty much identical, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, it will replace a 1990 GMC, same size vehicle.
Okay.
It has about 150,000 miles on it, and it's 20 years old.
Is that all? That's all?
That's all. It's about how long we keep them.
Right.
Keep them running.
Okay.
It'll go variety of uses. It's 39,000 pounds, which will hold about 10 tons of material. It's a 6-wheel vehicle, central hydraulics, plow, spreader, the body, and it's also, this truck I'm going to make capable to have a generator inside. Sometimes we get traffic power problems where we have to go out and run the traffic light for a while when Pico loses power. So it'll be able to handle that, plus other hydraulic tools, jackhammer, stuff like that. But that'll all be built into the hydraulics.
Okay. All right. Okay. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
Well, again, a comment. I'm glad to see you were able to find a chassis with the pre-2010 ultra low sulfur emissions on it. It's saving us about $9,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, correct. The international dealer that has the CoStar's contract, he pre-purchased 10 chassis, and it's basically first come, first serve. So if we don't have an order in by February, we'll lose it, go into the post-April date of manufacturing, and be into the 2010 emissions, which is going to bump the price roughly another $9,000 to $10,000.
And I'm just going to say, just so our residents understand, with commercial trucks, it's not uncommon for the chassis to be built in 1 year, and then when they get the bodies put on them, it's a different year, and the vehicle will be classified as a 2010, and it will be classified as brand new, and you'll have all the warranties on it.
Yes,
correct?
This truck won't even be built until April. So he just pre-purchased them on his end on the computer to get 10 chassis ordered, and he's just trying to get buyers for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mrs. Buzlowski?
Well, I congratulate you on finding it. I've been hunting for a Ford Super Cab for my husband's truck that has low mileage. It's a 1977. First Ford Explorer that was ever built, but it was a truck. It was the extended cab. I forget what they called it. It had jump seats in the back. And it sits rusting in my driveway. So, Joe, if you happen to spot one, grab it for me.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
This is coming in for us in terms of what we budgeted, about $4,000 less than we budgeted in the 2010 budget. Is that right?
Yes, I budgeted 150 because of the 2010 emissions, but when this deal came in, I tried to get right on it.
Right. That's great. And you think the life of this truck will be 20 years?
I would hope so. That's
great.
the expected we expect out of the big trucks is 20.
That's great. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No, it's a good-looking truck. No questions. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Any public comment needed? I see no hands.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something else to Mr. Arneo? I want to compliment you on the way you run that road department. You have done an incredible job, and I don't say it often enough, but my compliments to you, Mr. Arneo. Everyone respects you, and you do the job so well.
Thank you. I have a great staff.
Okay. Yeah, obviously, I don't think you're going to find any disagreement with that up here. A question I had, just looking at this for the solicitor, the chassis is coming from Five Star International, the body plow and spreader is coming from U.S. Municipal Supply. I'm assuming we have to do two motions to purchase the two items.
No, I believe you're buying this from one
One dealership, or?
dealer. Is that not correct, Mr. Arnett?
No, it's two. That's how we've done it in the past.
Yeah, I thought so. And then it goes someplace to be assembled, basically.
They'll build
correct?
the truck in International, and then when they receive payment, they'll ship it to J&J or Municipal.
And they'll add on.
They'll put the body on it.
Okay. All right, then we have to do two motions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. The chassis from Five Star International, $76,967. Is there a motion to purchase that?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, step 2, the body plow and spreader, $69,004 from U.S. Municipal Supply. Is there a motion to purchase?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait, spending money. Apologize. Mrs. Pullen, taking your job away from me, taking your job away. Go ahead.
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Mr. Arnett. Appreciate it.
Just a footnote, I appreciate the money in the budget for the vehicles, and the same truck 2 years ago, without the emissions, was $130,000. That's how much it jumped just
Right.
in 2 years with inflation.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you
well,
again.
Thank you. All right. Okay, item 3 is consider purchase of new copiers for the administrative offices. Mr. Gray?
Yes, thank you. Matt Markey has secured a quote for 2 copiers to replace 2 older units that are located in the finance and code departments. These new purchases have been budgeted for in the 2010 budget. The cost of these units is $8,136 per year. At this time, the board is asked to consider the purchase of these 2 units, and here to discuss this further is Matt Markey.
Right on cue.
Good evening.
Evening.
These 2 copiers will replace units that were purchased about 5 years ago. The units were originally purchased outright. These replacement units would be on a 3-year lease.
Okay, and what's the advantage of going with a lease?
Advantage is technology, really. The units that we purchased just 5 years ago, not color, they don't do any advanced scanning or have the ability to network as well as the newer machines. In 3 years, we may be looking at more of a paperless office or have more future plans to use the machines as a multifunction device. So right now, it doesn't make sense to purchase something that right now, we're going to have to take the old machines that break down on a regular basis, find homes for them. Can't really use them because they don't function that well.
Okay. All right, other comments or questions for Mr. Markey regarding the copiers? Mr. Zupka?
None.
Mrs. Wislowski?
I had the advantage of stopping in and seeing you, and you've explained to me, and I support it.
Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
Yeah, could you tell us again the price, I guess, per year, or how do you want to do this? You want to
Sure.
do it? You want to just do it per year, or you want to do a multi-year contract? Or
It's a 3-year lease. You'll be paying tonight. You would be approving just the first year for $8,000 somewhere in here.
136.
Right. This year we actually budgeted $15,000 for the purchase of 2 machines. The lease obviously extends that, but it's $8,100 for 3 years. That'll cover us. Also covers us for all black ink that we use during the time, all servicing, staples, all the wear and tear items. It's fully covered under warranty for those 3 years. So there's really, the only extra service cost would be using the color. And that's actually a cost savings because right now, all our color copies that we do on like HP little printers that you would have in your house, we're looking at about 25 cents a picture, where the new machines are 6 cents.
Okay. All right.
yeah, about how many I don't know the best way to answer this, copies per day, per month, per year. Can you give us a picture of what we expect these machines to be producing?
The project includes about 20,000 copies a month of black and white, and that was basically estimated around what we're producing now, especially if we start using the copiers for the Parks and Rec department. That department alone, it can save us a lot of money if they start running off things in-house. During the course of the summer concert series, they run off 12,000 flyers. So just off that one machine, right now we're paying for that, from a printer company. So we run a lot. Finance, code, produce a lot of paper. So 20,000 is not too high. That should cover us.
And a minute ago you said maybe a couple of years we'll be moving toward more paperless, paperless system.
Yes.
What did you mean by that? And is there any way, the amount of paper we're using now, is there any way to reduce that now, do you think? Or are we in the process of doing that?
Now there are ways. Do I think they're the most efficient currently? No. I think that in a few years, the township may be able to get in on better technology. Technology that's coming out now should be perfected in a few years that we can really take advantage, try to get more things online, more services online. That way we can better utilize paper. We don't have to use as much. But the way things are now, systems are new, they're fresh. Let's give it a little bit more time. It's another reason why to go with a lease. In a couple of years, we may consider a unit that can handle more massive, e-paper kind of things. Someone someone fills out a permit online. If we need to print a paper copy of it, the system that collates all that information can be networked right to the printer in a few years.
Okay.
Printers can do it now. We'll be able to network the printers, but in a couple of years when we're looking to save paper, save money on those kind of products, there'll be better machines available.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dents?
Yeah, you said that we'll be able to save on stuff that we contract out now. We'll be doing everything in-house.
Not everything at first. We're going to see how that goes. Just an example, I have included a memo from Bill Reese of all the stuff that just the Parks and Rec Department runs off at the printers. So they run off 12,000 copies of their summer concert series flyer at a price of over $700. When you consider that number of copies at 0.006 cents a page, we're only spending $72 on ink for all those pages. All we have to do is buy colored paper. So that kind of savings alone, if we start moving more and more in-house, we're going to save a decent amount of money every year.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, and I had a question you already answered, which was I was assuming since we're leasing them that we're going to be getting the service and the ink and staples will already just be sent to us. We just call for them right at Staples and they send us more. That's already included.
They're actually going to come out monthly to do a check on the machine, to
Okay.
service it, to give us staples, the ink. They'll also check our color usage. Color usage is actually still done by page. Didn't want to get into that because we want to see what kind of feedback we get on using color. We don't use too much color. It's expensive. That's 6 cents a page.
Right.
But the code department uses color often for their pictures they take out on the road. Now they can just come back, plug their cameras right into the copy machine, and we're getting, instead of 25 cents a picture, 6 cents.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you. Any public comment needed? I see one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mr. Erickson?
Matt is the video guy, isn't he? My name is Ray Erickson, Ferris
Correct.
Hills.
Yes, he is.
Will these copiers have any type of ability to computer archive in terms of the ability to optically scan the documents, since they are optical scanners and the copiers at the same time? Will they be archived via whatever type of computer system there's in the township?
Absolutely. The new systems actually have color scanners. We'll be able to color scan all the documents as PDF files. That moves more to a paperless office. We don't have an actual system in place yet to organize all that information, but now instead of running off copies after copies of, say, permits, people can get permits from the online sources or here in the building, and we now have the ability to scan in color.
Are you aware, is there a prime or some type of deck, a mini computer or a micro the township facilities? In order to archive particular copiers.
There's nothing in place yet. Again, that would come down the road. We would use our internal PCs with software from various companies do it now. But down the road, we would just try to use PCs as much as possible. We already have them.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Any other public comment needed? No? Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right then. So we're looking to approve, I guess, the first year in this 3-year lease at $8,136 for these 2 copy machines. That's what we're looking for, correct?
Yes,
We'll come
for
back
my
next year. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Markey, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Got to put a battery in this. I think it's cutting out.
Okay.
Bring it right back.
All right.
Mr. Markey, this week someone referred to you as a genius, and you do very well with our site.
Yes.
And I think you should ask for a raise then if you're that good.
All right. Okay, item 4 on our agenda is consider approval of a township tenant lease for Ravenhill. Mr. Gray?
A lease agreement for one of the township's tenants, Ravenhill's Psychological Services, has been secured. This lease agreement is a 2-month agreement commencing January 1st, 2010, ending February 28th, 2010. Ravenhill will be vacating their suite at the end of February. Rent for this office is based on $16.18 per foot. At this time, the board is requested to consider approval of this lease agreement with Ravenhill.
Okay. All right. Okay, is there comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zipka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Gray, do we have, I've missed in here whether we have another tenant lined up for this space?
No, not at this time.
Okay, but we're advertising it, we're looking for tenants.
We're going to start looking shortly to see if anybody would be interested in that space, probably mid-February, end of February.
Might be good to start advertising it soon as you want to,
Okay.
get it, people knowing that it's available. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Mr. Dents?
No, no questions.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Is there any public commented? Didn't imagine so. All right, so we're looking for approval of the tenant lease for Ravenhill beginning January 1st, 2010, ending February 28th, 2010, based on the rate of $16.18 per foot.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisniewski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Sins?
Yes.
Okay, we move on to appointments to boards and commissions. It was item 5 on our agenda. We appointed some people to boards and commissions. We still have some openings on a lot of our boards and commissions that people can put in resumes, letters of interest, and we can take a look at those. Taking a look here, I know we got a excuse me. We got a message from the township manager that for the Shade Tree Commission, Ms. Jennifer Picardo was just appointed toward the end of last year because she filled a vacancy. This is Amy Convery, who was one of the original members of the Shade Tree Commission, did a lot of good work, had to resign due to work commitments, and so Mrs. Picardo filled in just at the very end, and she wishes to be reappointed. Would be a 5-year term to begin immediately. I know Mr. Gray is planning on meeting with them, next week, I think?
Next Tuesday night.
Next Tuesday night. So he was asking if we might be interested in reappointing Mrs. Or Ms. Picardo to the Shade Tree Commission for a term of 5 years. Is there a motion to that effect?
Yes, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And Mr. Gray, I know that Thomas Roach was the one member of the Police Pension Committee who we had not heard from at our last meeting.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
we have since heard from him, and he is interested in being reappointed, correct?
Yes, he is.
Okay. And this is an annual appointment, so this runs just year to year. This doesn't have a multi-year connection to it. So is there an interest in reappointing Mr. Roach to the Police Pension Committee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we appoint Thomas Roach to a 1-year term with the Police Pension Committee.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. You know, somebody I had had a conversation with, somebody who's interested in being on the Environmental Advisory Council, Mr. Wesley Plasted, who's very well qualified as an engineer, if my memory is right. Talked to him a little while ago. And he is interested in getting involved in his community, and this is an area that he has some expertise in, Environmental Advisory Council. And so I'm going to make the motion to appoint Mr. Plasted to a full 3-year term on that board. on that council.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, could I throw in right here that I hope that with the EAC, with the Environmental Advisory Council this year, we might have a conversation about how to involve them more actively in some work in the township. We might take some tips from Lower Makefield, for instance, where the EAC is very, very active.
Right.
So
Okay.
Look forward to a conversation about that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they would too.
Yeah, I agree. I think they would. One more appointment I seen that I was interested in, Mrs. Carol Regan, who's one of the original members of our Historic Preservation Commission. Is a retired teacher, also very active at her church in Fallsington. She has been on the commission since the beginning and would like to be reappointed. And so I'll make the motion to reappoint Mrs. Regan to a 5-year term
I'll
on
second
that
that.
Historic Preservation Commission. Motion made and seconded. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Any other nominations or to our boards or commissions?
I don't know what the appropriate time would be for me to discuss this, but I did call for an executive session on this. It's not necessarily a personnel matter, but I challenged your appointment of Mr. Kiernan, and I still do. And in fact, I wrote to Harrisburg, and I received the Governors for Local Government Services Planning Series number 6. And it wasn't handled correctly, and it is my contention that Mr. Kiernan is not a valid alternate for our zoning hearing board. And let me explain exactly what happened. First of all, Mr. Harvey, you were rushing that through without permitting board comment. It's very clear on the tape. And I had to insist that I be allowed to react to the nomination, the appointment, and the call for the vote immediately. And I said, I wish to make comment on this, and you weren't going to permit me. And I said, it is an agenda item, and I insist on being heard. So I proceeded to tell the public and this board that Mr. Kiernan took the ballots from the Republican Party and the check to pay the workers, and the year was 2005. And I said that Harry Fox, who was chairman of the Republican County Organization, called me the following day, and he asked me if I knew what happened to his ballots. And I said, Harry, I don't have any idea. I don't belong to any political organization. He said, I asked who he gave them to. He said, I gave them to a member of my executive committee. And I said, what would the name be? And he said, Kiernan. And I said, well, I don't know the man, but if he's the one that I think that he is, I saw him passing out the goldenrod ballot for the Democrats at the election yesterday. He was at Penn Valley School. And Mr. Fox was very upset. Now, Mr. Harvey, you were very upset because I challenged it, and I don't want someone who would do that to his party, particularly when he serves in a higher capacity. It's a matter of ethics and integrity, and I said that I didn't want to see that person on our zoning hearing board. And you said, why didn't you bring him up on charges? And I had comments from everywhere about your asinine comment because of this. Even the United Kingdom. I have a letter from Captain Weaver, whom I met on the QE2 in 1995. He wrote, and the letter came today, and he said, I watched the December 15th meeting and the January 4th meeting for 5.5 hours. And he says, doesn't your chairman know that the laws of the United States are predicated on Old English common law? And I said, I don't think he knows much about the law at all. But what was even worse was the fact that he not only wanted to deny me making board comment, he didn't call for public comment. And what I said is absolute fact. I checked it with Doylestown, and I checked with Harrisburg about the procedure. And it is my contention that Mr. Kiernan is not the alternate on our zoning hearing board. He was sitting at the meeting. I attended the zoning hearing meeting the other night to see if he would take his seat. And Mr. Harvey, you don't have the right to deny me or any member of the public from speaking on any issue. And the way you handled that, and I watched that tape 4 different times, but my memory is excellent, and I know what happened at the meeting. Don't do it again, or you'll see charges being brought. I'm accumulating all of your faux pas. I don't even think you read Robert's rules, but I brought 2 different folders that I have on Robert's rules where the abuses are many. You cannot do that. And that's why, Mr. Dents, when you were sworn in the other night, I figured there was no way to go up if I nominated you for chairman of the board. And I am sad, my own personal opinion is that you would have made a far better chairman, because I believe that you would have been objective. And until you do something, hostile or that hurts the taxpayers, then I will continue to have that impression. And the smirks, that's so unbecoming and undignified, Mr. Harvey. Can't you behave like a gentleman and stay sober? And I don't mean alcohol sober, but stay sober at these meetings. The Snipes over on the other end of the table sits and giggles, and you sit and make snide remarks, and do not permit duly elected members of this board to make comments on agenda items. Not only can't we get an agenda item placed for discussion, I want to talk about the Williams Tract. I want to talk about Snipes' tax-free parcels. I can't get those on the agenda. And I think the public would be very interested, and they keep saying, persist, continue to persist. So you may do whatever you wish. If we had had executive session, I would have done this in that executive session. I do it now because I see that public comment is next, executive is last, and then there's no way that we could put an alternate on our zoning hearing board, and I think we need one.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Zupka?
I had taken the time to look up both through the Library of Congress and Robert's Rules of Orders on the internet, and also there was also a thread that would direct me into our state on how they conduct and the meetings. And with resolutions, there has to be an opportunity, and as it's put in there, the chairman, after a motion is made and it's seconded, the chairman is to pause, and the actual wording is there any debate from the board? And then it would be any debate from the public, and then the vote would be called. I believe the vote we took the other day for the alternate wasn't done properly, and if we don't do it over again, like we have in some cases before, we could run into a problem if there is a decision made sometime, and then it wants to be questioned if the alternate was put on the board properly, and if his vote was valid. So I'm saying at this point, I think I believe from what I had looked up that the way the vote was conducted at the last meeting was improper, and the alternate is actually invalid. That it should be redone, renominated, and voted on again.
Okay.
new nominees can be considered, and I'm putting you on notice, Mr. Harvey, you will call for board comment on every item. That's the proper way. And Mr. Zupka, I didn't know that you did some checking on your own, and I'm grateful to hear that because it dovetails with exactly what I learned from Harrisburg. But any time there is a vote, and particularly if it has to be done by resolution, it would be my contention that it should be polling the board. That is a very important appointment that we made. It pays money, and I said at the last meeting that the opportunity to do the wrong thing is ever present on a zoning hearing board. They grant special exceptions and variances from our zoning ordinance, and we have no say over what they do, and that's the way it should be. That's how our government is structured. But this board had to take an appeal and spend legal fees to correct something that Mr. Bennett brought before us at the last meeting. Now, that ought to be a red flag going up saying we should choose our zoning hearing board members with great care, and we should look for things like integrity, and we definitely should poll the board by individuals when something so important is being done. But you were in the middle of the next item on the agenda, and I said what I had to say, and you said, why didn't you bring him up on charges? I never heard of anything so ridiculous. And now let me tell you the rest of it, because very clearly on the tape, you say to our secretary, Lisa, did you record the Kiernan vote? Now, if you're not observant enough to know that you did that, and you did it improperly, because there was no vote on Mr. Kiernan, I didn't vote. I was fighting for my right to speak as a representative of the people of Falls Township, and you were not going to permit me to do it, and that's why I have to insist. Now, I'm going to address one other matter that came up. I said that I never speak privately to you, and I do not, and I never will. My father taught me as a young girl, when you catch someone in a lie, you never risk talking to them privately unless you have a witness or a tape recorder with you, because they can manufacture anything that you supposedly said, and I adhere to that rule. And I think that's what has kept me out of trouble for 45 years. I don't talk to thieves and I don't talk to liars, and I can tell you that when you start making an issue because I won't call you, there is no requirement that I have to talk to you. I talk to you at this forum, and wipe that grin off your face. You look ridiculous. Now, if you find this humorous, the people that are watching these tapes do not. And I have decided that I'm not going to let you get under my skin, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to file against you the next time you break rules. And I'm going to lump all the rest of them as evidence that you do not conduct these meetings fairly nor properly, and you do not adhere to Robert's rules. And I asked you on that tape, are we following Robert's rules? And you said yes. I don't think you know Robert's rules. I don't think you ever had the book in your hand.
Okay. Not going to waste the township's time replying to everything. The one thing I do want to address, though, Mr. Clark.
I have something to say real quick.
Sure.
Mrs. Vislowski, when you talked about the zoning hearing board, were you talking about the current board? Because I was on that board for a few years, and you've got 5 people on that board that do an excellent job for the township.
I'm not challenging that. I should.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
No, and it's not a reflection on you, so please, I have enough to argue with these other 2 members.
Well, the other 4 members of that board, they all do an excellent job, including the one that was just appointed, Scott Milliken.
I nominated him.
I know. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, Mr. Dance, I do not know why you're being testy about that, because...
I'm not being testy, but you said that about integrity in the zoning board. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't talking
I think
about
that should be the standard for choosing. And if I knew of another instance when there was not integrity, nothing would keep me from saying it.
Okay.
So, and I happen to be one of the authors of the zoning ordinance back in '75 when I was chairman. I understand special exceptions and variances. And, when someone applies for a variance, the burden of proof is on the petitioner. I have seen variances granted, and I give people the benefit of the doubt when they're not trained in something. If I had a gripe with them, I would be there complaining to them. Instead, I walked up and I shook hands with everyone but one person, a political appointee. And I ignored him. We have had problems in the past. But the other four have my imprimatur, I can tell you that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clark, the question was raised about the appointment of Mr. Kiernan by resolution, and that there was no public comment allowed. Just to explain before I ask you your opinion, my feeling is that when appointing people to boards and commissions, allowing for public comment is a way to get into some pretty ugly things pretty quickly, because the only thing you have to comment on is the person's character and the person themselves. In my mind, it is something that could open up a can of worms, letting people come up here and say, I don't like this person, don't put them on this board. That's not really helpful to anybody. But that was my reasoning for not doing that. What is your impression of Mr. Zupka's contention that the vote was not proper for that reason?
Well, Mr. Harvey, there are a couple of issues that are being discussed, and I can only go by what I'm seeing in the minutes. I believe that part of the issue that's being discussed is whether or not board members had adequate opportunity, and then whether or not there was public comment. The general rule is that public comment, members of the public should be allowed to make comment on any matters of official business that are coming before the board. There is also a rule that says a lack of public comment by a member of the public does not necessarily invalidate the action that was taken by the board, although there can be some judicial relief. The minutes do not reflect whether or not any member of the public was denied the opportunity to speak. And I can assume from having sat here for the last several years with you as chairman that if a hand had gone up, you would have recognized that person. And I don't believe that anyone has come forward and indicated that they were denied the opportunity to speak. So I don't believe that the vote on Mr. Kiernan is invalid for that reason, nor do I believe that it's invalid because a member of the board did not necessarily have a right to speak. And on an item, Robert's Rules is one of those often misunderstood items in municipal government. I don't believe I can find anywhere in the township where we have adopted Robert's Rules of Order as the way we conduct our meetings. Everybody likes to talk about Robert's Rules, but it's basically somewhat of a loose framework for conducting a meeting. If we actually conducted our meetings 100% consistently with Robert's Rules of Order, it would be, there's a great deal of formality that goes into Robert's Rules. So this issue came up several years ago. There's nothing that ever says we officially adopted that, but it is a general framework, and from what I'm hearing and from what I can read in the minutes, it doesn't appear as if that was violated either.
Okay.
I'd like to respond, please.
Mr. Kozlowski, you made a lot of
I
comments.
would like to respond to what the solicitor has said.
Very well.
I have indicated in the past when Mr. Clark has given his opinion of parliamentary procedure, and I have those well documented. Now, he has done it tonight, and he is assuming that our minutes are accurate. And for the people who are at home listening, because the people who attend these meetings, for the most part, do not their minds are made up before they come here. But the people at home listen to the arguments. And I can tell you that there are times when the parliamentary rules and the rights of the public are just trampled in the meetings. And I consistently say the minutes aren't accurate, and my vote will be no tonight. So his ruling is based on inaccurate minutes to begin with.
Okay.
And Mr. Harvey, if I could.
Yes.
Another area where people are frequently confused is regarding the minutes. Our minutes are much more detailed than is required by law. Under the Sunshine Act, written minutes shall be kept of all open meetings of the agencies. The minutes shall include the date, time, and place of the meeting, the names of the members present, the substance of all official actions, and a record by individual member of the roll call votes taken, the names of all citizens who appeared officially in the subject of their testimony. Obviously, when you look at our minutes and the minutes that we've done here in the 8 years that I've been with at the township, our minutes go much beyond that. Our minutes comply with the Sunshine Act in regard to those items that shall be included in the minutes.
Okay.
Point of order, Mr. Harvey.
Ms.
Roll
Wazowski.
call vote. Roll call vote. Now, our minutes are way beyond, sometimes we go 17 and 18 minutes of political garbage. It has been my contention constantly. It isn't funny.
Well-
It isn't funny. It is a serious matter. It has been my contention that minutes should be who made the topic introduced, as our manager does, and then the individual who makes the motion is recorded, the individual who seconds the motion is recorded, and then, instead of a jumbled hurry up and let's get this done so that no one criticizes what we're pushing through here tonight, that's what happens. And Mr. Clark maybe inadvertently said roll call vote, but it's my contention anytime we spend a dime, there should be a call by name so that we know how that individual voted. Most of the time, I don't even move my lips because I see you push it right through each time. You don't want criticism. You don't want the public to know what you're doing wrong. I decided that tonight, because I do have backup from Pennsylvania and I have backup from elsewhere, the public watches these meetings and there are good parliamentarians who know what they're talking about. Mr. Clark committed a terrible faux pas, and I'm dying to test that one, and it's not this one tonight. It's one that was so gross that we may wrap that into any litigation. Because I'm telling you right now, if you do it again, you're going to be explaining it to a judge.
Okay.
And Mr. Harvey, if I can just again explain, I did not misspeak. It does say roll call vote. And it has been the habit of this township of every time we are spending money, we do a roll call.
Right.
And on a voice vote, which you frequently call for, it is a member's responsibility to vote. So when you say all in favor, those who say all in favor, say all in favor. And when you say all opposed, someone is supposed to say opposed. Sitting mute violates your responsibility as an elected official where you
Take
are
lessons from you.
required to vote.
Okay.
Mr. Harvey,
Now,
point
Mrs.
of order.
Now, Mrs. Wazowski-
Point of
Mrs.
order.
Wazowski.
If there is no
Add.
voice vote, and I can show you on all of the tapes where what he said is not what happens at these meetings. Now, we
Mrs.
can
Wazowski.
prove that. The tapes speak for themselves.
Roll
I
call.
insist on roll call vote. And when I don't vote, that is to put a marker in the minutes. I don't do it on the important items because I like to be heard on what the important items are. But I can tell you, you're not a proper chairman because you should be alert to what's going on in these meetings, and you should be fair and impartial. You're not.
Okay. Well, I just allowed about 20 minutes of open criticism toward me, so hopefully any complaint you make to Harrisburg about my not listening to complaints will include this meeting.
You will be.
No, wait, I didn't interrupt you. You went, uninterrupted. I'm trying, I know you are, and that's why I let you go. Now, the reason I cut off debate on Mr. Kiernan at the last meeting was because he was being accused of a crime.
I didn't accuse him of a crime. He stole the ballots and he stole the check.
When you accuse someone of stealing something, you're accusing them of a crime. Theft is a crime.
How about identity theft? Is that a crime?
If it's proven, yes. If it's not proven, that's not a crime.
It's been proven. She admitted it in the paper.
Actually, it wasn't proven. But if you accuse someone of stealing checks, checks are money. That is a crime. if you have evidence of them stealing money, then you should report it. It doesn't seem to be that illogical. Maybe in Britain's system of government, Captain Weaver, I don't know what he was a captain of, isn't familiar with that aspect of it. But the fact of the matter is, when you accuse someone of a crime, you should have evidence, and you have no evidence. And I said, bring him up on charges. That was why I stopped the debate. You did have a chance to comment. Allowed you to go. Yes, you did.
We'll
And
let
then
it-
we moved on.
This is not the end.
The reason
This is not the end.
reason I asked Mrs. Pullen for if she recorded a 3-2 vote was not because I doubted it, because I knew we did. But actually, Mr. Rudolph, who was sitting in the solicitor's chair that evening, motioned to me that he didn't think there was a vote recorded. And that's why I asked Mrs. Pullen if she had managed to get a vote. She indicated that she did, and we moved on. And in terms of the minutes, I think the minutes we have are excellent minutes. They are more detailed, and I think we've heard criticism on the one hand that they're not detailed enough to record everything that's said, and then on the other, 2 minutes later, we hear that they're too detailed and they go into too much. So, Mrs. Pullen, again, you've sort of been raked over the coals a lot over the past few years. I think you do an excellent job with the minutes. It's not an easy job.
Mr. Harvey.
And I'm going to try and move us
Point
back.
of order. The vote is taken after the discussion,
Yes.
not prior to. That's not what happened at the meeting.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes,
The
it is,
tape
ma'am.
will show that you are inaccurate.
Sorry, ma'am.
Again,
I allowed everyone to speak, as I've been doing this evening, and we called a roll call vote. And roll call vote is the kind of vote we've been doing all night. Each person is called, and they're voting. That's a roll call vote. And we've been doing that, and we do that anytime there's money spent. I've known that, and we've always done it that way. In fact, I almost did it. I almost did it by accident tonight. I almost called for a voice vote on the Public Works vehicle and stopped myself and realized I needed to do a roll call. So, all right, moving on. Any other appointments to boards and commissions? Okay, we'll move on to public comment then.
I have a quick comment. I mean, we talk about the minutes. Everything's videotaped,
Right,
so everything's right there for anyone to see.
right.
that's correct.
Just so you don't have to read the minutes. I mean, even though we can get the minutes.
If the minutes don't reflect what really happened,
The videotape
Mr.
will.
Dents, then they're
Right.
inaccurate, are they not?
Correct.
Thank you, because that's the point I'm making.
Oh, no, I didn't say they're inaccurate. I said
No,
correct,
I
you can see
said
it on the videotape.
If they do not reflect what's on the videotape,
Right.
then one thing is wrong or the other thing is wrong. And the actual words can't possibly be wrong, so it means the minutes are incorrect if they're not recorded accurately. But that's the permanent record state.
And that's incorrect. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, written minutes are the only official record of the meeting. The legislature has not yet deemed that videotape or audio tape is the official written, or the official, record of the meeting.
So in a
Under the Sunshine Act, it is written minutes, which are the official record of the meeting.
Okay.
That's why they must
Point is
be
this-
accurate.
This he said, she said stuff we're going over now is on the videotape.
Right.
That's my point.
And my point is, if the minutes, as Mr. Clark just ruled,
Are inaccurate. I
not
understand.
accurate, then the minutes don't let us know what goes on.
Wait, say.
I read minutes back to 1952. I truly did. That's how I learned what was
All right.
going on in Falls.
Okay. All right, we seem to have a little bit, moving on to public comment here. There were usually two sign-in sheets in the back of the room, a resident sign-in sheet and a non-resident sign-in sheet. At this point, Mr. Gray is not really sure. Someone he thinks may have accidentally picked up the resident sign-in sheet when they thought they were picking up an agenda, and we have some people who have left, so we actually don't have a resident sign-in sheet. But anybody who signed in, we'll look around, and anybody who wants to speak, obviously, we'll listen to them. I do have a couple of residents who have signed on the non-resident sheet, I guess because it was the only one that was there. So we'll start with them, and then we'll move on to other people. The first name on the list here, Gallus Obert.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gallus Sobert. I'm going to take these earphones off because I understand they whistle.
Okay.
That's a feedback, so bear with me. I have a few items, probably four. One is the cost of the survey for the sidewalk that is planned, proposed, may go in, may not go in, from New Falls from Pennsbury down to Tyburn Road. I have in front of me copies from the PennDOT regulations, Chapter 447, hazardous walking routes. And I have a few items, few areas underlined, and I'm sure that our engineer has taken this view, maybe not, I don't know. But this came out of the Pennsylvania School Code of 1949, pages 1604, 1605, and 1606. I'm going to give it to you, Mr. Harvey. You can turn it over to Mr. Sullivan, and we can go from there. I'll do that when I'm finished.
That's fine.
Okay? Okay. How's the boundary lines coming for between Falls Township and Tullytown? Can anybody fill me in on that one? There was a boundary dispute concerning a dump as to who's going to get what money. Can you tell me that one?
Yes, you want me to answer now, or?
Now I'm going to put them on.
Okay, all right. Yes, Tullytown made the claim, I guess it was a year ago, that the line that separated the one landfill, which is written as 51% on our side, 49% on their side, was inaccurate. I know there were some newspaper stories about this. Our engineers went out. They did their own survey work independent of the Tullytown engineers and found that the Tullytown engineers' claim was incorrect. That we believe, and Waste Management believes, that the 51% on our side, 49% on Tullytown's side is accurate, and Tullytown's claim is wrong. We've been trying to meet with the Tullytown engineer now for several months. We've had no luck. Now they just went through a change where they have new engineers and new solicitors, and so now they're sort of in the mix. Basically, the ball's in their court. We're continuing to receive money at the 51-49 in our favor split. We don't think that's going to change. We have our evidence. We think it's pretty solid. We really don't know what their position is from now on.
Looks like we might go to court on that.
Well,
I can see that coming. I'd like to talk for just a moment about the economy, and this is my opinion and my observation as far as the economy is concerned. We have stimulus money. We're putting in push buttons at different intersections so people can cross the street. 2 push buttons posts. There were push buttons already on the light standard. Why are we chasing more money after existing positions? I don't expect the answer on that, but there's something wrong there. The other thing is we borrow money from China at 2%. People spend it on products that are made in China, so the money that you get as a stimulus goes back to China, and guess what? All we have is a darn big debt. We're in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. That's my opinion.
I agree with you.
We must manufacture products made in the United States. Try and find a light bulb that's made in the United States. It's very hard. Anything is very hard. I went to a local hardware store today to look at a toolbox and didn't think any much of it, just looking. And they were for $24 to $58 and so forth. And I picked up a brochure and walked out, and gee, there's a toolbox that says $3. And I thought, gee, $3 off. Wonder where that one is. I went to look at it. The toolbox is $3. Guess what? It's made in China. We can't manufacture a toolbox for $3 in this United States because of high wages that are caused by benefits and so forth. So we just priced ourselves right out of some money. That's for darn sure.
I'm not sure you'd want a toolbox that was only worth $3 then, would you?
$3. I don't know. I was giving it to my grandson as a present for him to, he's only 9, but put his tools in there and so forth, and I hope he keeps it around, but whatever. But I wasn't going to spend $25 for it, and that's what we do. I'd like to also, here, let me give you this now before I forget.
Okay. You got one more thing, Mr. Obert? You just have one more thing to... Okay, go ahead.
Yes. On the hazardous walk, there's the school students 7th to 12th grade that a shoulder should be there, 4-foot shoulder. you don't have room for a 4-foot shoulder plus a curb. I just think we're just chasing a bad deal.
Okay.
Okay, now comes the last one. People are concerned about, we hear about losing their homes, worrying about paying their taxes. And we're very fortunate that we have the facility called the dump. And I don't mean the store, I mean the big mountain over there and so forth. But people, you're chasing the wrong issue and place when you come to the township. What you have to do is, you have to go to the school board, okay? That's where the money is. I'll give you just a real perfect, quick example, okay? In the year 99, the total cost of the school budget was $112,914,880 some dollars. In 2008 and 2009, it was $174 million. Okay, and guess what? That's a difference of $61 million. That's a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. There's something wrong. The number of students that we had at that time, the per pupil expenditure back in the 99 area was $8,116. Now it's $12,010. This is on high school students. That's not the whole thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Thursday night is a school board meeting in which they're going to vote on whether or not they're going to raise your taxes no more than 2.9% or whatever. If you don't want to get involved, don't complain about the taxes that you have to pay. You have to get up, you have to talk, and you have to tell the school directors, hey, Zippo, I don't care how you do it, but maybe we ought to look at a budget that is state mandated only, according to the Pennsylvania Code 1949. What do we have to teach? And then find out what the budget is. And I'll bet you that we'd probably cut 30 to 40% off of that budget. So I'm doing this to try and get you people motivated, interested, and get involved. If you don't want to become involved, don't complain. That's for sure.
Okay.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Okay, Ray Erickson?
My apologies, but I had received a letter from Mrs. Ruth, the Township Manager's Secretary, indicating that my term on the Falls Township Cable Advisory Board had expired at the 31st of December, and I submitted a letter of interest in regard to another appointment for another term on the 30th of December, and without going too far into the year, I attended the last meeting on the 11th of January and was told by Mr. Renson that it would be okay until the board took action to whether I'm reappointed to another term or not. But I noticed that there wasn't any additional actions in regard to boards. But I'm wondering if I could,
Okay.
without where you were.
Mr. Clark, how would that work? Mr. Erickson's saying his term on the Cable Advisory Board was up December 31st. There was a meeting on the 11th, you said, right?
Yes, there was a meeting on the 11th.
Which he did attend. Is it permissible for him to stay on that board and as a member until replaced, or?
No. The authority is the only board on which you continue to serve until replaced. All other boards, when your term expires on December 31st of a given year, your term expires and you need to be reappointed, or someone needs to be appointed to fill that seat, unless a specific provision is made in our code. And I do not believe a specific provision is made in our code for a member of the Cable Advisory Board to continue to serve after the expiration of their term.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So that kind of answers your question. But, you know,
Mr. Chairman, well, Mr. Erickson is here, and I see where he has on our sheet, he wishes to be reappointed, so I'll make a motion to reappoint Mr. Erickson to the Cable Advisory Board. Let me just get it out of the way.
Okay. Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen, you poll the board, please.
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wesowski?
Abstain.
Mr. Harvey?
No.
Mr. Dents?
I've never spoken to Mr. Erickson, so I'm going to make a motion to table this until I can at least talk to him a little bit. I mean,
Okay, motion to table is made. I think Mr. Dentz's comment is a good one. Is Mr. Clark, we're in the middle of a vote, however, right?
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of a vote. I think we have to go through with the
well, then I'm just going to vote no then.
Okay. vote
Now,
no.
wait, a motion to table, I was ready to second the motion to table. That takes precedence. Your ruling is wrong again
Not-
on motion
not
to
if we're-
table.
Mrs.
We're in the
yeah.
middle of a vote.
We're in the middle of a vote, so.
Unfortunately, Mr. Dents, your motion to table at this point in time is out of order because we're in the middle of a roll call on a vote.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. So 2, and 1 abstention.
The motion fails for not having a majority.
Okay, all right. In terms of an abstention,
Mr. Dentz's motion to table Mr. Erickson's
I
reappointment.
voted no already now.
yeah, move to table. Well, we can re-examine it later. Yeah, the motion fails, we can re-examine it at a later time. Mr. Dents obviously has a chance to talk to you. He hasn't had that chance, and so maybe at the next month's meeting, he'll have a chance to do that. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
And any parliamentarian would say that a motion to table ceases everything.
And also, any parliamentarian knows that an abstention has to be accompanied by a letter stating why the abstention was taken place.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not. It's actually state
Right,
law.
take me to court like you wanted me to take Harry Fox to court.
Mr.
It's
Clark.
ridiculous.
Mr. Clark, we've had a lot of back and forth on this for several years now regarding abstentions. I think it's time we need really kind of take a look at this and perhaps even contact the proper authorities in Harrisburg to find out what the real ruling is in terms of abstentions, please.
Yep. I think it'd be a good idea.
It's a very simple process. It's writing a letter to the Ethics Commission asking for an advisory opinion, and they will give an advisory opinion on what happens in this instance.
Okay,
And
thank you.
We can prepare that quite easily.
All right, thank you very much.
You could have done that a year ago or 2 years ago.
Okay. All right, those are the names of the non-resident sign-in sheet. Like I said, the resident sign-in sheet is not around. So I'm assuming there were some people that signed in on the resident sign-in sheet who would like to be heard. Are those out there? Yes, Mr. DeSangro?
Good evening. Steve DeSangro, Falls Township, and I am part of Levittown Continental Little League. And the reason I'm here tonight is I know the last couple of weeks we had Ed Mathias come up and discuss some of the things that we're looking for the Challenger Field. The reason I'm here is, I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been talking to Jim Sullivan and Mr. DeFelice for about a year now and trying to put this together. And I think you got a packet tonight that has everything in there. We're really not looking for a building on the field per se. What we're looking to get done is we're looking to get this type of field put down, okay, where the dirt and mud is when it rains, and we're looking to put this down and have it fenced. Would you like to see it, Mr. Fazlowski?
Yeah, you can bring it forward, please. We can pass it around so people can get a chance to look at it. I'm assuming you need this back,
Thank
right?
you for coming. Feel that.
And what we're looking to do is we're looking to put that kind of surface down because what Mr. Mathias was saying was great, and he's really done a nice job with it. But what we're really looking to do is if we put this type of surface down and it rains, and if it rains for 3 or 4 days, the kids can go out and play on it and without a problem. And the biggest problem we have is with the wheelchairs and the walkers. They can't push through mud, they can't push through dirt, and the AstroTurf wouldn't be a good idea. So this was the surface that Mr. Sullivan came up with, and he also came up with a price on it to do everything. As far as the excavation, the perforated drain piping, we have to put a drain system under the field, crushed stone base, edging and pinning, 1.5 inches of resilient safety surfacing, 4-inch chain link fence, and a 10-inch chain link fence on the backstop. It would be with the project total would be $206,000. So
How many square feet?
Mr. Sullivan?
12,650 square feet of
Right.
resilient surface.
And what it's going to be is,
50. It's in the packet, ma'am. It's in here.
12,000 what?
12,650 square feet.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
and what we're trying to do is go out 90 feet all ways, and then fence it in. And what we want to do with that type of materials, they can make the base pass out of a dirt color and the home plate out of a dirt color, so it looks like a regular baseball field. So that's what we're looking to do. And whatever you guys can do for us would be a great help, because it would really help out these kids. We've been trying to get this done for a couple of years, and I really think they could use it, and hopefully you guys can do this for us.
Yeah, I know, Mr. Sanger, you've been working very diligently on this, and you've been the point man for a while. I understand everybody wants to get involved and has their ideas, but the material we have here and the work you've done with CMX Engineering, who, by the way, donated all their labor to this. CMX is not getting paid for any of the work they're doing on this project. It's something they donated to this project, which helps keep the price down, obviously. I think at this point, I think we need to move forward in this, and I'd be in favor of making a motion to have the engineer get ready to go out to bid on this and get this moving as fast as possible. But we'll hear other board comment here first before we take any action. Any comments or questions, Mr. Zipka?
No, I think this is a great idea, and we have to find a way to help.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
You know, my heart is with you completely. And I want to describe what I just saw, because I never saw material like that before. And it felt like heavy rubber, about 3 inches thick. And I thought that was a marvelous thing, because it certainly would allow for proper drainage. I think that we have misused a lot of the money which I personally brought into this township. There's I can document between 400 million and 500 million. And I would be in favor of giving you the entire amount, less the 40,000 that Senator McElhenney again pledged to me, despite the fact that Mr. Harvey, knowing that McElhenney had promised it, wrote to him and asked him if he would give it to Harvey instead. And McElhenney called me and laughed, and I said, we don't need to get the kids involved in politics. I want to see your field done, and I'm willing to cast the vote that will give you the total amount that you need so we can get that done right away, sir. And I am going to make a motion, a proper motion, hopefully, that we go out to bid on exactly the specifications that you have arrived at with Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. And one thing that Mr. Harvey did say, Mr. Sullivan and Mr. DeFelice gave us a lot of time, and they did it for nothing, so I really appreciate what they did.
And I do as well, and I thank you publicly for that, Mr. Sullivan, because usually the pay-to-play guys don't donate their time.
I'll second the motion so we can see where this is going.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, but let's, I'm going to continue with board comment here. Mr. Snipes?
In terms of funds we have available for the project, we have $25,000 that Mr. Galloway.
Correct. Yeah, we do have a grant from Representative Galloway, did present us with a grant a few weeks ago, $25,000. We do have a letter from Senator McElhenney dated the 12th of January, in which he states that his support for this project, he did mention the fact that he has spoken to Supervisor Kozlowski as well as myself. He can't commit an exact amount, but he will do. I will continue to work to obtain funding through other resources to help with the cost of the field upgrades, is what his comments were. And I talked to him again over this weekend, and he again mentioned that the area where the grant would normally come from for this kind of project has been eliminated in the budget. That area of the state budget has been cut out, but he is going to try very hard to try and do anything he can. I have no reason to doubt him. And obviously we have township funds, and you hear Mrs. Kozlowski and Mr. Zipka obviously very much in favor of using township funds for this. If we fund the project and find grants afterwards, then that's it's just as good. So, and obviously looking for donations, whether it's material or labor or something else, obviously would be, and I think Mr. DeSanger's been working on that as well for the past year or so.
Mr. Chairman, as I read a letter from Senator McElhenney, it doesn't, although I appreciate his, his offer of support, it doesn't look to me very hopeful necessarily that money's going to come through. I don't know whether you read something differently here. Or
It's
maybe
different.
Maybe in your conversation with the senator, you heard something different, which is great. I'm just trying to get a sense of what we really actually have to commit ourselves to.
Right. At this
From
point,
Township.
I think obviously minus the $25,000 that Representative Galloway has committed, and minus the roughly $10,000 that we gave to Levittown Continental last year, we're looking at roughly $206,000. This is the rough estimate. Of course, it has to go out to bid. It might come in lower, might come in higher. The $206,000, obviously minus 35. Looking at something in the area of $171,000. So that's where we are right now.
So given our budget, obviously we didn't budget for this, Mr. Gray.
No, we did not.
Okay. So we would be looking to take this money from
Host community fees.
host community funds. Okay. Okay, those are my questions.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
I think it looks great. My only question is, the whole field is made out of that material? And it's just painted? No, that's great. Yes. And that's all I had. That's
Okay.
I have a comment.
Certainly. Then we'll have public comment and then vote.
I spoke with Senator McElhenney just on Saturday night. He was at the Fairless Hills Fire Company banquet. And he once again committed the $40,000 that he promised. And he's not hedging in his letter. He tries to be diplomatic because he does not want to see any he said, she said. The issue was already predetermined because I offered to take Mr. Matthias to the bank to borrow the $40,000. I would have done that as an individual just to help your field. So that's how certain I am that McElhenney will come through with the funds. But he's not the kind that's going to stir up controversy, and he had a few editorial comments to make to me about how, well, I'm going to let it go. I do not want the children to be involved. I could amend my motion, sir, and say that Falls Township is willing to pick up the balance of the money due to complete the field, and we'll do what we can to get other funds in, including Galloway and McElhenney. But if we keep that amount flexible enough, then you could be assured that your field would be done in time for your kids to use it now, and that's what I want to see. So, I would like to phrase my motion in this manner. Mr. Sullivan, your figure for the total project is?
$206,129.
$206,129. Now, my motion will be to have Falls Township pick up the remainder of the cost to repair the Challenger Field, and we will supplement whatever comes in from other sources.
All right, I'm confused now. You've made two motions that are different.
Yes, they are.
And Mr. Zupka seconded the first motion you made, which was to go out to bid on this project. So
Yes.
are you rescinding your motion?
No, the bidding process is first, but I'm making my position quite clear, and I will reword anything it takes to get that field done.
Let's vote on. Can we vote on the first motion?
Yes, we should.
Okay,
We
so let's
vote
do
to
that
go
first.
out to bid.
All right, let's do that first, and then we'll continue. Is there public comment needed? I see one hand. Motion to open public comment.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Kinney?
As much as her and me disagree, I agree with her. We should take it out of the host fee, pay for the field, get it done. These kids need it, and that's it. And I think all the people in Falls would be behind you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? See no hands. Motion to close public comment.
So moved.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So a motion is made to go out to bid. Mr.
This is essentially a motion to authorize advertisement of the bid specifications for the Challenger Field.
Correct.
It's been said differently, but that's essentially what you're authorizing right now.
Right. So we're authorizing advertisement of the bid specs on this, as has already been completed by CMX and agreed to by Levittown Continental through Mr. DeSangro, who is the representative. Okay. So a motion's made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, obviously, we'll have the bids come in at some point. Mrs. Wislowski, would you want to, obviously, we can wait and bid on approving it then. We're going to have to do that anyway.
I would like to do it tonight because we've delayed long enough. We could have taken action last year, and we're without a field for the kids, and the weather has been very bad. I would like to make the motion now that the estimated cost is $206,129. And my motion is that Falls Township supplement every cent that is not given to the Challenger Field Little League by other sources, and we pick up the remainder of the bill. Now, if you need me to repeat that, Mrs. Pullen, I'll be glad to do it.
I think that's
Thank you.
That's fine. I'll second the motion. Okay. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay. I imagine no board comment needed. We've had a lot of discussion on this over the past year or so. I don't think you're going to find anybody up here who's opposed to this project or ever has been opposed to this project. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Chairman, just for 1 second, it's a little odd for us to approve the expenditure of funds before we even know how the bids are going to come in.
Right.
I mean, in
We're
principle,
going to have to approve it anyway.
In principle, I support it, so.
Right. I think just in terms of, this is obviously a vote that we're going to have to take again anyway, but in principle,
Okay,
Mrs.
that's
Wislowski would like
fine.
to vote on
That's
this.
fine.
Mr. Chairman,
So
if I may.
we'll entertain that vote. Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Well, number one, I don't think we'll be delaying it if we do the vote now, but we've spent money on the dog park, and a lot of people do use that. We're looking at spending a sizable amount of money on a boat ramp. Different things we've spent money on. This project will do more good for our youth that really deserve to have something like this. I think I think this is more important than. I mean, I was all for the skateboard park. I think this is more important than some of the other projects that we've done for the residents. This will give children who let's see. This will give children the opportunity to do something they might not be able to, and get a large enjoyment, or a great deal of enjoyment out, and I'd like to see it happen this year.
Sure, I agree 100%, Mr. Zupka. All right, so we've had motion made and seconded to expend funds to build the Challenger Field. Again, and when the bids come in, we'll have to vote on this precise amount and award it to whatever contractor comes in as a low bidder. We'll have to do that anyway, but this is obviously stating the board's commitment to the project. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wislowski?
Absolutely.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. DeSangro, for your efforts in this and for coming tonight to help us get this underway. Okay. Are there any more public comments? Just going back to the original agenda item here, number 6. Again, we don't have the list. I see no more hands. Oh, one. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Dan McMullen. I am a Falls Township resident, and I was just curious about any kind of open vacancies to any of the commissions or boards. I've looked online and saw that there were a few openings, but
Okay.
I was looking to see if there was anything else, because I'd like to be in service if I could.
Okay. Mr. McMullen, I know we have, and I'm looking for my copy here, we have a listing of the boards and commissions that have openings. Let's see, Mr. Dent's handed me his. And what I can do, there's a couple letters of interest on the back, which I'll tear off because it has people's information on it. But nothing else on here is privileged or private.
We appointed tonight.
Yeah. So there are some board chairs just want to take this. This will give you an idea of where we have some openings. And you can take a look and see what you're interested in and what, maybe, I don't know what background you have, but where you think you might fit in best. And if you want to put a letter of interest in with some contact information or leave yours with Mr. Gray, we'll be happy to give you a call and talk to you about what you're interested in. Okay? All right. Thank you. Okay. Any other? No? Okay. Oh, hold on. Mr. Kinney, just under the wire there, Mr. Kinney. I was getting close.
Again, in my community, we lost another veteran, Steve Sinati. We lost him on January 1. He was a paratrooper over Germany, and his plane went down. And for a year, him and his men went through trying to not to be captured till he got back to his lines. We lost him. I just want to say goodbye to him. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we have
My
no more
name
public
is on
comment.
the missing sheet.
Ms. Vlasky, would you speak now, or you want to wait until board comment?
I'm going to speak now.
Very well.
First of all, people have been asking for my email address. It has been and still is Dorothy dot, that's a period, Vislosky at Comcast.net. And I put that period in between my first and last name after my identity got stolen and was confirmed by Comcast that it was stolen by Deborah de Blasio. Now, then, keep your meeting under control, Mr. Harvey.
Ms. Vlasky.
Now, just a moment. She spoke out of turn, and I get reprimanded if I dare. I want to thank the man who cleared my driveway during the heavy snowfall. I have no idea who he is, and I'm asking him to please get in touch with me. I also would like the woman who is very upset over what we're doing on New Falls Road, because in her opinion, and certainly in mine, and the opinion of her neighbors, it is unsafe for children. So I have given my address, email address. Please contact me. I want to thank Denny Ostapovich for having a program on my birthday and people calling in. One of the people that called was a woman who went to grade school with me, and that was 75 years ago. And she lives in Vermilion Hill, and I know what her name is. I would like her to get in touch with me. Her name is Betty Park. Please contact me, and thank you for the message you left on my voicemail. I also need volunteers to listen to Township tapes. I do not lie, and I am overburdened when it comes to trying to listen. For a long time, we went without a clock on our Township tape that plays back for the residents. And when we had that clock, it was easy to pinpoint who said what at what time. You could fast forward on the tape. I need some volunteers. Please contact me. It's dorothy.vislosky at comcast.net. I'm also getting new software. My website is going to be greatly changed. The categories changed. And I will be able to post so much easier. I will be able to go home after a meeting and alert the people what to watch for and to tell them what the true facts are. And I'll let the rest of my comments go in the spirit of peace.
Okay. All right, we'll move on then to next agenda item, which are the minutes, item 7. Okay, members of the board have copies of the minutes in front of them. Comments or questions, corrections on the minutes? Mr. Zupka?
On page 3, starting with line 7, I do believe this is what Ms. Pullen was told to put on there, but it's not correct. And it says a 3-2 vote. It wasn't a 3-2 vote. It was we'll say 3-1 and 0, and then other wording in there just
Wait, I'm
isn't
sorry.
correct.
I'm sorry. Which line are you looking at? You're page 3.
Page 3, starting with line 7 down.
2.
What was happening?
4, 5, 6, 7.
Line 7 from the bottom up.
Oh, I'm sorry. From the bottom. Okay.
That's my
I'm
fault.
sorry. I was looking at the top.
No, down from the bottom up. And still talking about the vote for the alternate. Again, I believe that's what Ms. Pullen was told to put on there, but again, that's not correct. And some of the other issues, if you watch the tape, it's incorrect.
Okay. All right, so you're suggesting that correction. Mrs. Wisłowski, comments or questions?
No. I am voting no, as usual.
Mr. Snipes?
No comments.
Mr. Dents?
None.
And I have none. All right, we have a choice of the minutes as presented or the minutes as amended by Mr. Zupka. What's the pleasure of the board?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Zupka, your amendment was that the vote that's listed here, 3-2, is that right? Was not actually, what do you think it should be?
There was 3-1-0.
Because there was
plus the conversation that Mrs. Wisłowski had was going on while, actually before the vote was even been, was called. It was called during while she was making her statement.
So there was one no vote and one abstention?
It'd be 3-1-1.
3-1-1.
Well, there was no abstention. There was no vote.
It is a fact that there was no valid vote taken after the board member commented. I wish that statement to appear in the minutes because I will do something about it.
Do you think that he voted in favor of it?
I think it was 3-2. He's saying that she didn't.
Oh, I see.
Sure, it makes
Do what you want.
Mr. Clark, does it make a difference if she voted no or didn't vote?
The habit that Mr. Harvey has had for the last 2 years on voice votes, which is distinct, obviously, we're distinguishing from roll call votes, where Mrs. Pullen polls each board member individually. On voice votes, Mr. Harvey says all those in favor. Then he asks all those opposed. It is the responsibility of the board member to vote either, a voice vote either in favor or opposed. I do not know where the 2 no's came from unless they were expressed by the members. I think, if I'm not mistaken, what your question was, Mr. Harvey, to Mrs. Pullen was whether or not the vote was actually recorded, and that's what was stated at that point in time.
Mrs. Pullen, do you remember, I know this was a couple weeks, excuse me, Mr. Clark, and it was a couple weeks ago, obviously, and there's been a lot of votes in the meantime. Do you remember if that vote was a roll call or a voice?
I believe it was voice.
I believe it was voice, but you're not positive. Okay.
It was voice.
It was voice.
I believe it was voice as well.
Okay.
It was a voice vote before there was any comment, board comment, or public comment. That's exactly what happened.
All right.
Well, Mr. Chairman, since we as members have to vote, it's obviously 3-2 or 3-1-1, correct?
Either way, it's not going to change the outcome, correct?
Well, correct. Somebody could not vote, I suppose, and it wouldn't be recorded as anything.
I guess so.
So-
I don't know what the point of that would be, but
It's not going to change the outcome.
not gonna
but
change the
what's-
outcome,
what's-
but it's-
What is in the minutes is incorrect.
Okay.
So then we can approve the amended minutes?
Correct. If that's the motion,
I'll make that motion.
okay.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion to approve the amended minutes. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
All right. Okay. All right, the engineer's report is item 8 in our agenda. Let's see, Mr. Sullivan, any highlights here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to give the highlights of the meeting that was held at the Quaker Penn Park boat ramp on Friday with the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEP. There was a lot of discussion. The regulator from the Army Corps had a lot of questions. We believe we answered all his questions, and everyone understands what we're doing down there. There's a new idea for dredging. The dredging is going to be, instead of taking down by barge down to Money Island, we believe we can basically take the dredging material, put it in trucks, and then truck it over to Money Island, which makes it much easier and much more palatable to the Army Corps. Once we get that agreed upon in writing from them, we send them our procedure, they will advertise the project in the Pennsylvania Bulletin for a 30-day comment period. Assuming that 30-day period comes with very few comments, at that point they can begin what they call the permit process, which is about 45 days. They will give us verbal confirmation they will issue the permit prior to that 45 days expiration. And that all goes well, then we can start constructing the boat ramp on land prior to the limits of environmental impact. There's an environmental window here starting in July for fish in Delaware and for red-bellied turtles on the shore. So we can really only work in the water from about July to, I think, September. But we can start the project on land before that. And I'm very optimistic at this point that we're actually going to get this thing started late spring and then have it complete and ready for use by probably late summer.
Okay. All right, thank you. I know it's been, I think we said it when we first started, I think 3-4 years ago, that whenever you start getting involved with the river, whenever you start getting involved with state agencies, it's the hurdles don't seem to stop coming up at different points. So we've seen that happen, and I know I've gotten a lot of questions about the boat ramp. What, are we still building it? When's it going to be done? And you can see we're still moving on it. Obviously, we'd like it to move faster, but that's not always under our control. But I thank you for the efforts. I know I know you're frustrated. I'm sure you'd like to be done with it too at this point. Certainly, I think we awarded the project, 9-10 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that. So I know that contractor and the guys he has working for him, or people he has working for him, would like to be working on this too.
Yes.
So
technically, we haven't finalized the award to him, but as soon as we're confident that the permits will be issued, we'll do that and have him get started.
Okay. All right. Okay. Comments or questions regarding the engineer's report, which is dated January 14th, 2010.
I have one question about the boat ramp. That's not something that you would start on the ground until you're sure you can get started in the water, right?
That's right.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck and find out that there's another hurdle or
Exactly.
turtle or whatever is in the way.
That's why I said we haven't finalized the award. When we're certain we're going to get the permits from DEP and Army Corps, then we'll allow the contractor to start.
All right. Okay. Other comments or questions?
None.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the engineer's report, January 14th, 2010?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. All right. The bill list is next item on the agenda. January 19th, 2010. The amount of the bill list is $2,092,207.49. Of that, about $845,000 is payroll and insurance, health insurance. We also have about $786,000 in host community fees. That's mostly road program, as well as about $22,600 in highway aid money, which comes from the state, $18,400 crime prevention money, which comes in also. It's not tax dollars, in other words. So we have and $30,000 in escrow. So that's what we're looking at for this bill list. Comments or questions on the bill list? Mr. Zupka?
No. No.
No? Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
No questions, no.
And I myself have none. Mrs. Wisłowski has left the meeting temporarily. So any public comment needed? I don't see any hands. Okay, is there a motion then to pay the bills, $2,092,207.49?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Wisłowski? I'll be no.
Mrs. Wisłowski must be in the room to vote after a motion is made, so she should be marked as absent at this point in time.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Executive session. Mrs. Wisłowski has called a couple times for executive session. Again, she stepped out of the room at this point, so I'm going to move on with manager comment. Maybe we'll come back to that if she's still interested in that. Mr. Gray, what do you got for us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item I have is a change order for the 2009 road program. This is for engineering services for CMX in the amount of $20,000. This is for additional engineering services completed for 3 roads, including New Pond, Penn Lane, and Exit Lane. Please note the 2009 road program came in $2 million under budget and $300,000 under bid. The board is asked to consider this change order.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan or Mr. Gray on this? Mr. Zipka?
No, none.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Just wondering why we're receiving this now. Is this something that's just happened recently, Mr. Sullivan?
No, this happened during the design phase, but we were hoping that we could do everything, including the extra 3 roads for the original bid price, but circumstances during construction inspection, we went over the budget.
All right. Well, I mean, this is not troubling me as we came in way under budget, so I don't think it's a big problem.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No.
All right. Ms. Kozlowski, comments on the change order 2009 road program?
No comment.
Okay. All right. Any public comment needed? I see no hands. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the change order $20,000 to CMX?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
My next item is a request for consideration by the board for Anderson Associates. The township has received a proposal for consulting services for the police pension plan by Thomas J. Anderson and Associates for the year 2010. Anderson has been the township's police pension consultant for many years, actually. The current rate Anderson is proposing is $4,500. This amount has remained the same since 2003. At this time, the board is asked to consider securing with Anderson and Associates for consulting services $4,500 for the year 2010.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from board members?
Other than I sit on the pension board, and they have done a good job. They always seem to be a little bit ahead of the curve of some of the things that be coming out, and I would support it.
Okay. Anything else? Mrs. Kozlowski?
I have no comment.
Mr. Snipes?
No comment.
Mr. Dents?
No.
I have none. Any public comment needed? Okay. All right. Is there a motion then to approve or to approve the consulting services Anderson and Associates at the amount of $4,500 for 2010?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka? Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
The upcoming spring 2010 bare root tree offer is available at this time for municipalities. These bare root trees would be available in March or April for planting shortly thereafter. Last year, the township did a similar program, securing these trees, 75 trees to be exact, and planting them in Elderberry Park, at the Pinewood Pool, and in the community park. The Shade Tree Committee is requesting 40 trees at a cost of $35 each for a total of $1,400. The deadline for this application is January 29th. At this time, the board is asked to consider the purchase of 40 trees as part of the Tree Vitalize program for $1,400.
Okay. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zipka?
Yeah, Pete, is there any funds left in what we've been getting from some of the other developers as they've been doing the projects, and in lieu of they donate?
I know the program you're talking about. I don't know that number offhand. I could check to see if we do have any. If we do, if the board would like.
Well,
it.
yeah, because if we have the funds there, I'd rather use that than this.
I had the same question, Mr. Gray, but where would these trees go?
Well, what we'll do is the Shade Tree Commission will meet next week, and they will make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors as to where they recommend they should be planted.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Gray. Why only 40 this year and 75 last year?
40 is the limit for the spring. There is another program that will probably take place in the fall, and that number has yet to be determined. But in 2009, we were only allowed 75 trees.
Do you know if the Shade Tree Commission has any information about the Pennsylvania program Tree Vitalize?
I could look into that and let you know.
I'll try to get information for them because I believe that there are, Mr. Sullivan, do you know about this program?
Yes, it's been very successful in other municipalities I've worked in.
Could you say a little bit about it?
What I know about it is very, very minimal, Mr. Snipes.
You can say very little about it.
They have there's a consultant out there that actually applies for the grant, but it's a very good program. The trees are kind of like the bare root trees that we get. I think we planted 1,600 trees last year.
Who planted 1,600 trees? That program?
The Tree Vitalize program grant gave us enough to plant 1,600 trees. They were planted by the Public Works Department, so there was a lot of money saved in that respect.
Okay.
But planted 1,600 trees.
Okay. So it sounds like and I believe there might even be some, I think they call it urban forestry awards. I'm not sure if that's through Tree Vitalize. Anyway, just throwing these ideas into the pot, maybe it's something that the Shade Tree Commission would like to take up, but I support this.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
You said that we can do 40 in the spring?
Yes.
And then it comes up again when, in the summer or the fall?
In the fall.
The fall.
Application should come out in September. Trees should be ready for planting in early to mid-November.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. I think I had mentioned to you the ideas, some people have said to me, and I've noticed it too, the walkways we have, the connector trails that go down Mill Creek and go down Penn Valley, where we have some benches, along the path, but they're kind of out in the open. There are no trees there. So obviously in the summertime, it's not necessarily a good place to stop and rest if the sun's beating down on you. Might be one of the places we could recommend. Maybe the Shade Tree Commission might want to take a look at those. Obviously that's not going to take 40 trees to hit all those benches. Not that many benches, but just my thoughts as to might be a good place because I've had people ask about that. Planting trees in those spots. So, any public comment needed? I see no hands.
Mr. Chairman, I had one last thing. At one point, I think it was Governor Rendell challenged the state to reestablish tree cover in southeastern Pennsylvania, and I wonder if there's some way to calculate this. Maybe this already exists at the level of the state, to calculate the tree cover of Falls Township and maybe to set some benchmarks for what we'd like to do in terms of increasing the tree cover. Because that only increases people's property values, it reduces energy costs, it obviously helps to reduce global warming because of the trees taking up carbon dioxide. So it'd be interesting statistics. Maybe there's some way to find those stats specifically for Falls Township and set some benchmark for ourselves of where we'd like to head with this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure where that would, we could certainly take a look and see if we could find that. Right. Okay. Is there a motion then looking to buy 40 trees, bare root trees, for a total cost of $1,400?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wasowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
My next item is a request from the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee. They are requesting a contribution for the event of $6,000. The township did budget in the 2010 budget this amount. At this time, the board is asking consideration for this donation.
Okay. And this is how much we budgeted last year, and I think the year before that too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was, yes.
6,000. I think it was 5 for a little while, but obviously costs have increased, and 6,000 helps them. It's a little less, obviously, than half of the total cost of their budget. The parade, obviously, probably the largest parade in Bucks County, I would guess. Not even just St. Patrick's Day. I think it might be the largest parade in Bucks County. Certainly, the largest parade that we have that goes through Falls Township. A couple things, I guess, to keep in mind. Comments or questions from board members regarding this request from the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee? Mr. Zepka?
None.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
It's a wonderful event. It's always great to participate every year, and I think we should support it as usual.
Okay. Mr. Dens?
No comment.
Not from me either. Public comment? See no hands. Okay. Is there a motion to approve $6,000 to the Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wasowski? Fislowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
My next item, I have a request for the board to consider a 60-day extension for a conditional use application for Clearwire LLC. This is located at 207 Austin Drive in Fairless Hills. This extension would run until March 31st, 2010. The board is asked to consider this extension.
Okay, and we have a lot of, we have a lot of these extensions here, all from the same attorney, same company. This is a firm, just so we can, because you do them all at once, you think?
I would suggest that it's the same attorney, it's the same company, it's the same 60 days. They were all filed at the same time. If Mr. Gray can just say the address of each one, you could all vote on them at the same time.
Okay, I'll go to March 31st. These are for, this company is not they're looking at co-locations on cell towers. They don't do cell antennas. They do, I believe it's for Wi-Fi or for,
That's correct.
Yeah, it's for Wi-Fi. So, and they're looking for extensions and all of those. So, Mr. Gray, you said 207 Austin Drive. Why don't you say the other ones too?
Yes, 65 MY Lane in Morrisville, 701 Fallsington Toytown Road, Tyburn and Newbold Road in Fairless Hills, Stony Hill Road in Morrisville, and 275 Lincoln Highway in Fairless Hills, for a total of 6.
These are all existing cell towers, correct? All these locations.
That is correct.
Right.
Yeah, they're not looking to put up new ones. That's a good point. Right. Okay, looking for co-locations. All right, so a motion is made, or excuse me, we have the information here to extend 30-day extension to March 31st, 2010 for these, was it 7? Is that right? 6 properties, all by the same company. Okay. It's a nightmare question. I'm wondering if we're going to have 6 conditional use hearings on the same evening.
If we keep going on this current track, you might.
Okay. All right. That's why I was afraid to ask. Okay. It's a good night for a legal secretary, a stenographer, I guess. All right. So, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupko?
None.
Mrs. Fislowski?
Mr. Gray, what does this company do?
They do the attorney's office, or you're talking about
No, I know attorneys. Shakespeare took care of the attorneys.
Clearwire Communication.
Communications?
Yes.
Thank you.
They provide wireless internet, I believe, Mrs. Fislowski.
Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
So to make the motion, we're just going to list all the tax parcels and give a 60-day extension to Clearwire US LLC.
Probably just approve the extensions for the properties already named by the manager. I would guess would be the easiest way to do it.
Okay. Yeah. Nothing else.
Okay, Mr. Dents?
No, nothing.
Okay, I don't have anything either. Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to grant the extension to March 31st, 2010 for the 6 properties listed by Mr. Gray?
I have one more question,
Yes.
Mr. Gray. Is this going to involve any new towers?
No, I believe they are not.
Thank you. If they cohabit with
Yes.
other towers. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion then to?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, motion made and seconded. We're not spending money, so we can do a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Next item is another consideration by the board for Mill Creek Inn. They are requesting a extension on this project until February 28th, 2010 for this land development project. At this time, the board is asked to consider this extension. And this is from John Koopman, representing the applicant.
Okay. All right, comments or questions from board members? I think this just went to the zoning board just last week, I believe, right? This property, is that correct?
I don't believe so, Mr. Harvey.
It was.
This is, they had submitted a plan, and after a staff meeting, we decided that they needed to prepare a subdivision as well as a land development plan. And so they were not put on the planning commission agenda for this Thursday. They'll be on the 3rd Thursday in February, which I believe is after the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Right, 16th,
So we're going to need another letter of extension sometime next month.
Okay.
Koopman had 3 items on the zoning hearing board agenda. Doug Maloney was there representing them instead of.
Thank you.
All right, so,
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this issue came up last month with an applicant who gave us a shorter extension period of time, and we were concerned that we were going to have to keep going back and getting those extensions. We've spoken with that applicant and told them that we're going to need an indefinite extension while he works out his zoning issues. And I would recommend that Mr. Gray contact Mr. Koopman and make the same request. Otherwise, you run into the problem of a deemed approval. If we don't have that indefinite extension, this will have to be put on an agenda in February for final decision.
all right, so you advise, you could suggest no action on this evening?
No, I'd accept the extension,
Accept
but then
it,
I'd
but
ask
look
them
for
to get
another one?
another one while they're,
Okay.
a longer one while they're working through their zoning issues.
All right, so right now, we're looking at February 28th, 2010 for the Mill Creek Inn. Okay, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
None.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Don't have any either. Any comments from board members? No. From the public? No. Okay, is there a motion then?
I'll make the motion.
What is your motion?
Motion to extend it till February 28th, their application.
Okay. I just didn't, I'm sorry,
That's all right.
not poking fun at you. I didn't have the paper in front of me either, or I would have made it. I don't know what happened to our copies of it.
I think it was an earlier packet. It was a packet from the week before. All right, so you were seconding, Mr. Snipes?
Yes,
Okay,
be happy
motion
to.
made and seconded to grant the extension to February 28th. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
My vote is an abstention.
My final item tonight is that their Oxford Valley Shopping Center, the Mylars are ready for signature.
Already signed.
That's everything I have.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Kozlowski, you were outside for a little moment there. We went over executive session. You had asked for an executive session last meeting and earlier this meeting. Are you interested in having one now?
Well, I have already covered the material I wanted to, with the exception of this binder. I was interested in showing this to Mr. Dents. I don't know whether you're interested or not, but I'd be happy to show it to you. And beyond that, I don't have a reason for executive session.
Okay. All right, then we won't have one. Okay. Board comments then. We will start with Mr. Snipes this evening.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to ask a question. We had an energy audit done of this building a number of months back, and I wonder what our plans are at this point to follow up on any recommendations. I know we haven't focused on this in a while, but I wanted to bring it back to our attention. There was questions about lighting, especially. I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember the other points but I don't want to think that we spent money on that and didn't follow up. So I'm wondering if there's any way to follow up, or if we can set some goals for ourselves.
I know that we do have, and we have for the last couple of years, Mr. Gray was mentioning this to me earlier, excuse me, when the lights need to be replaced, ballasts go out, whatever, we do have somebody come in to put in more efficient fixtures. Is that correct, Mr. Gray?
Yes, that's correct. They've been periodically going through the township, replacing the old light fixtures, putting in new ones that are more energy efficient.
Okay.
So that has been done?
Yes.
That is ongoing?
And it is ongoing, yes.
And I don't remember what the other recommendations were. As I said,
I do remember some of them, especially upstairs. I think some of it was motion lights that are off. At least some of the lights are off unless someone's walking down the hallway. They go on, censored lights. I think that was one. I think there was one regarding the lights that are out back, or I think even out in this parking lot, in terms of the kinds of lights there and the kind of energy they use. But we can certainly take a look at that. Maybe we could, all of us, maybe dig out our copy and take a look at it and just see what things we're already doing and what things that we maybe need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay, thank you. Yeah, we could follow up on that. I also wanted to echo, I think it was Mr. Zupka's question about the fund that was set up where some of our developers could contribute the equivalent value of trees instead of planting trees in areas that didn't seem necessary or appropriate. And I did want to check back and see where we are with the use of those funds. Obviously, we allocated money tonight. Was it $1,400 for the purchase of the trees? We're just wondering where those funds are coming from and what's left in that fund. You know.
Yeah, I'll look into that in the morning and see if we can allocate some of that money for this program.
Okay. Great. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Okay. Mrs. Kozlowski?
I have no comment. I will do my talking when it's significant.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
Yes. While campaigning, a lot of people brought up the issue of traffic in the township, speeding, total disregard for traffic through sections and neighborhoods. And we've had some discussion about this. And we'd like to look into this with the police, get some input from the police department, what works, what doesn't work, and from traffic planning and design, what is available. There's a lot of other stuff going on in Lower Makefield, in Middletown. You drive through, whether it be signage or just lines painted in the street to get your attention of how fast you're going. And anybody will tell you, anywhere, any section, any street in the township it's almost out of control. I mean, you drive down Olds Boulevard, the speed limit's 25 miles an hour, and it's impossible to go 25 miles an hour. Levittown Parkway and Oxford Valley Road, I think the speed limit's 40 miles an hour, and nobody's doing 40 miles an hour. Every section, on every drive, there's cars flying around. You go through Lower Makefield, they've got the chevrons, as they're called, and such painted in the streets. Some areas, they have the speed bumps. But I think if we look into it like we discussed, of anything that's out there, any options to do something about it, people will tell you a lot of it is the people that actually live in the neighborhoods that are doing the speeding, which is probably true. But I think just getting their attention of what they're doing, I mean, people don't even realize they're going, how fast they're going through the neighborhoods. I mean, you see the slow down signs, which helps, but I think we can look into it and see absolutely anything that's out there that we can do. And get the input from the police and, like I said, from traffic planning and design of options that are available to us, that stuff they do in other townships and so forth.
Okay. All right, I know you and I had spoken about this many times, and I, in sort of putting our thoughts together, our ideas together, I know I gave you a copy of this. I just was something I came up with that I'll give to other board members here to take a look at, just as an idea of something we can maybe ask, and this is a draft, ask our police and ask our traffic engineers to see if they can have some ideas that we can start this conversation on, taking a look at what we do already, what's working, what's not, what are some other things other people are doing that we're not doing, and what are some solutions we can come up with. And obviously we will have some public input on this, but first we want to find out, we want to get a baseline so far, what are we doing and where do we move from here. But
right.
I appreciate you.
Mr. Gray had said that he was in a meeting in Lower Makefield last year where traffic planning and design laid out all kinds of options to control speeding and stuff down there. So I'd like to see something like that, see what's out there that's available to us.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So, okay. Let's see.
Also, last meeting I tabled appointing a solicitor for the township. Since then, I've talked to several firms, at least 2. And it's my opinion at this time that there's nothing that township has to gain by changing solicitors. I think that Rudolph, Pizzo, and Clark do a decent job for the township. I know some people have personal problems with them, but nobody's told me anything that's, professionally that the problem is with them. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Rudolph, Pizzo, and Clark as general counsel for the township at the rate of $160 an hour and $275 an hour for land development.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion made, seconded. Mr. Zupka, comments?
None.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes, Mr. Dance. I never had the opportunity to speak with you, Mr. Dance, but that's what this big black folder is all about. I was calling an executive session to discuss that topic. I've done Excel spreadsheets, and I have brought other information, and I think it's premature to do that until you learn a little bit more about what's going on. I know that you have not spoken with me. I certainly have a lot. And if you're inferring that I have personal problems with Rudolph, Pizzo, and Clark, I have a problem with Mr. Clark.
No, I wasn't speaking about you.
No, that's all right, but I want to clear that up just in case, because he has represented people against one of his own board members. It's going to erupt into something, and I've just sat back and tried to keep peace and tried to get along as best I can. Now, I've requested more information again, but I have been doing the work, and I'm saddened to think that there's no communication between us. I asked for the executive session, hoping that I could do this, you know, as a means of talking to you. I'm between a rock and a hard place, Mr. Dents, because if I make an attempt to reach you, then I'm living up to the lies that they tell about me, that I wish to control people that I come in contact with. That just isn't true at all. Everybody has to be responsible for their own conscience and their own actions. I just do the steady homework, and I dare say I do more than anybody has ever done in this township, because I try to keep myself informed. And that's what I'm doing. So I do believe that it would have been better for the taxpayers of this township if that keeping this solicitor was continued to be tabled. I don't see any haste. He continues on, even though you might feel he's doing a good job. I haven't had the opportunity to persuade you. There might be something better for the taxpayers out there.
Well, that's fine. The other firms that I've talked to are more than qualified, but I don't think it's fair to Mr. Clark to hold him hostage waiting. Is he our solicitor? Is he not our solicitor? We don't know him anything. But like you said, if there's something better or there's a reason why, he can be removed at any time. But in the meantime, I don't think, no one's showed me anything, and no solicitor has come along that's going to do anything special that he doesn't.
How can you say that no one has showed you anything? I came here tonight prepared to show you something,
Yeah, but
didn't
you
know
didn't bring
how
it up
to
till
do
after
it.
I was going to make the
No,
note
I
that
can't
point.
get an item on the agenda. I would have discussed solicitor's fees.
Mr. Kozlowski.
I'm
And,
not arguing, but
no,
when you
I'm not
asked
arguing either.
session, you're the one that denied the executive session.
No, I didn't deny it.
Well, I made the motion, and at this time, I really feel that there's no reason why we shouldn't appoint Rudolph and Clark.
That's all right.
Pizzo.
You are responsible for your own motions and your own votes, and I'm not going to argue about it.
Okay. All right, motion's made. Mr. Snipes, any comments or questions?
Nope, I've been very satisfied with the work that Mr. Clark has done for us. Obviously, when I first arrived at the board, there were several serious suits against the board. Those have been resolved, and no new serious suits have ever come against us in the time that I've been on the board. That's both a result of the good work of the board and also our solicitor giving us excellent advice. So I've enjoyed his work, and I've enjoyed his presence, and also that of Mr. Rudolph when he's been here. And I totally support their continuing with us.
I have one more thing, Mrs. Kozlowski. There was more people lobbying, and Mr. Clark's well aware, for political reasons for someone to not appoint him. There were more people asking me to go with anyone besides Mr. Clark. But it's my opinion that I really don't see any reason why. I think he does a good job for the township, and no one showed me any reason why we shouldn't stick
At the last meeting, you said you had spoken to a lot of people.
I had.
And, yeah, but, you know, on what particular subjects? I would have loved to have had the opportunity to at least speak with you. I'm not quarreling with you. You're responsible for your own vote, and I can tell you that it's always good when you're not sure to leave the status quo.
You're right. Well, we tabled it last meeting, and it's not fair to Mr. Clark and his firm. You know, 1 week,
It's
month
all
to
right.
month.
I haven't found him to be fair, and as far as I'm concerned, with respect, I will say the subject's closed.
Okay.
You do what you'll do, and I'll do what I'll do.
Okay. I'll echo Mr. Snipes' comments. Obviously, worked with Rowe, Pizzo, and Clark, the law firm, and several attorneys from that firm have been here at different times and handled different issues for us over the past 6 years that I've been here. And I found them to be exceptional, and beyond reproach in pretty much every aspect. And I certainly feel that, as Mr. Snipes said, one of the reasons why we've avoided the costly $1 million lawsuits that were here 9 years ago was because of the change in solicitors, and the legal fees for this township have gone down. In fact, they're half of what they were, 8 years ago. And so that's, I think that also goes a long way toward speaking to their reputation and their abilities.
I have another question, Mr. Harvey.
Go ahead, Ms. Kozlowski.
Who paid for the big celebration at the Sheraton? It used to be when the Democratic Club thought they had something to celebrate, they would go to maybe to Kazdan's Tavern or something like that. Sheraton is a big dollar kind of a party, and I'm wondering if any of our professionals contributed to that, because I am told they did.
I think I'm not sure which celebration you're talking about, but certainly I think after the swearing in, I guess a week or 2 weeks ago, I think the Democratic Party in Falls Township actually paid for that. So, and as to how much it cost, I'm not the treasurer of the Falls Township Democratic Party, so
We're going to look into campaign expenses anyhow.
It's
But
fine. We
I've
file
been
our
around for
paperwork.
45 years, and I know how they get disguised. That's one reason why I
Yes.
don't solicit and I don't party.
Right,
You can't
right.
ever say once that I ever had a headquarters where I went to some restaurant and someone paid a huge amount of money so that I could have a celebration. I just don't do that.
Or take 2 cruises around the world.
Well, I do that with my own money. Do you have an
All right, we have
objection to
a,
that?
We have a motion and a second.
You are just absolutely
Any public
unfair. Now, Mr. Harvey, I want you to apologize for that comment.
No.
Oh, you won't?
No, I will not, ma'am.
Okay. I did not use taxpayers' money
Didn't
like
suggest you did.
you're, all right, but you're fond of lying and stretching the truth, and here you go again.
No, I'm not.
It's all right.
Sorry.
I will have the last word, Mr. Harvey.
Mrs. Boland, can you pull the board, please?
Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
No.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? You all right?
We have our answer.
That's it. I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Zupka, you're up.
Excuse me?
Board comment?
I'm going to go back to the item we did spend a lot of time on today at this meeting, but it is my belief, again, in putting the alternate on the zoning hearing board, it was not done properly. The information I had looked up, and when they spoke about resolutions, the opportunity was not announced and was not given to the public or board members before the vote was taken. Now, if something would happen that the alternate would have to sit on the zoning hearing board and vote on an item, and then the developer or whoever challenged it, and if it was actually said and proven and agreed with by a court that we don't have a member on the board that was put on there properly, it would all fall back on us. The simplest thing to do at this point, and it probably wouldn't change anything, but just to re-vote that position for the alternate. If we don't do it tonight, it's not going to happen. And again, I feel that if we don't do it, there is a possibility something can fall back on it. And I'm going to make it, I want to make it clear that I'm objecting to how it was done. And again, I'll make a motion to re-vote the position for the alternate on the zoning hearing board.
I will not second your motion, Mr. Zupka, because I do not believe that our posture is as good legally as it is to let things remain status quo. So for that reason, I will not vote for it. I'm tired of the nonsense, and I intend to do something about it.
All right. Well, so there's no second.
For lack of a second. Let's go on.
One other thing I'd like to go over. We're all very aware of what's happened in Haiti in the past week. The devastation there from the pictures and all accounts is is incredible. But so many people around the world have pulled together. So many different countries, and I don't even think you're hearing about all the countries that are there working. The Arab Emirates from Kuwait, they've sent people. Israel sent two 747s with medical people in there. The Dominican Republic, just so many countries, and the amount of monies that are being collected. I do believe everybody should try to make some type of donation, but you have to be careful of who you're donating to, because there is a lot of fraud going on with that. But if you do it, if your church is having something, if Salvation Army, myself, it's the Red Cross, just anything that can be done. I'm really gratified to see some of the our celebrities in this country and athletes donating a large sums of money. Sandra Bullock and well, her husband's a little strange, Jesse James, but they donated over $1 million. You know, some of the basketball players who actually have roots in Haiti have been going there, or have gone there and have been donated over $500,000. Again, anything that can be done, but if nothing else, just in your prayers and thoughts for the people there. They were a poor country and before, and this has just made it so much worse. And this is the time we should really try to do whatever is possible. Again, even if it's as simple as just to keep them in your prayers. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I want to echo, that's actually something I wanted to touch on too as well. Mr. Zupka mentioned the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross has, for the past week since the disaster, had opened the opportunity to donate money over your cell phone by texting the word Haiti to 90999. You will actually be donating $10 to the Red Cross. It'll show up on your cell phone bill. It's a donation like any other donation, but that's how it's paid for, is you'll pay for it the next time you have that cell phone bill come in. But again, it's a very simple way to do it. Obviously, so many of us sort of live on these electronic leashes now, and we're texting pretty regularly, and it's pretty simple to do. But certainly Haiti to 90999 is a way to do it very simply, very easily. And I think there's a benefit. I think you mentioned Hollywood. I know that there is, I think, a telethon this Friday night. I think, I'm not sure. I guess if Clooney, it's on all the right. George Clooney's organizing. I don't know if it's on every channel or just some of the channels or whatever, but obviously pay attention to that as well. So, a couple of the things. Speaking of, well, let me just do some business here before I get to the other things. The PSATS convention is held every year. Pulls in supervisors from across the state to get together and talk about issues and take a look at different ideas. We are sending a delegate to that conference in April. Mr. Dents has expressed some interest. I think he's checked his schedule and finds that he is available. And so I'll make the motion to send Jeff Dents as Falls Township representative to the PSATS conference, April 18th to the 21st in Hershey, PA.
I'll second it.
Okay, any comments or questions? No? I think I see public comment needed. All right, then. Mrs. Pullen, poll the board, please.
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky? Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
What is the vote, please?
Okay.
What's the subject? I was at the ladies' room.
Oh, I apologize. Mr. Dents has expressed interest in being a delegate to the PSATS convention. We were making a motion and approving the motion to send him as the delegate for Falls Township.
I'd like to make a comment on that motion, too. I brought with me tonight another thing that I would have taken up in executive session, but I chose to remain silent in the interest of peace. There's an engraved invitation inviting the whatever delegates go to a thing hosted by the pay-to-pay professionals. and it becomes a moot point now. But the public has noticed that the 2 minority board members are never chosen to attend any of the conventions. I personally go, so does Mr. Zupka. We don't turn in expenses. But I do believe that the delegate who is selected has the responsibility to come back here and give a report on exactly what they learned that would benefit staying at the very expensive Hershey Hotel, and tell the public that they got a quid pro quo for that money being spent. I personally would prefer to see it go to a Little League or any other charity. Operation Smile costs $240 to save someone with a cleft palate, and there'll be a considerable amount more than that spent on the convention, and I don't want to see my tax dollars used because somebody can go and whack golf balls and party time and all that kind of stuff. We've been to the conventions enough at our own expense that we see what goes on. I have no desire to go as a paid delegate, but I resent the fact that this side of the board is excluded. And I do believe if Mr. Dents goes, he has a responsibility to report back exactly what he learned. He's brand new. He needs to learn a lot.
Well, I think Mr. Dents will be fine with the idea of letting us know what he learns. I don't think there'll be any issue with that. I don't think he plays golf either. Let's see, but we've approved him and thank him for volunteering to go. I think it's a good way. If you're saying he needs to learn, obviously it's a good way for him to learn. So, okay. At the next meeting, first meeting in February, I'd like to have the Township Board take a look at the Biles Island proposals that we got back in September, October. Mr. Dents has just recently been able to get copies of all the information from the different engineering firms that expressed interest in that, and he needed some time to take a look at that, which I think is completely fair. You had said earlier it's a little unfair to keep some of these firms, or keep a firm sort of hanging out there and not knowing what's going on. We started the process of looking for these firms about a year ago. Giving the idea of we'd have Biles Island at some point in the future and wanted to have an idea of what we could do there, looking at a long-range plan. And we asked them to submit different kinds of proposals, and the most recent ones we got were in October or so, where they expressed their background and ideas and a cost, basically, of how much it would be to put those ideas into motion. And so we've obviously had a long time to take a look at those different proposals from, I think it was 6 or 7 different firms. Mr. Dents has just gotten the information, but that's something I think we should be prepared for the next meeting, just to letting board members know. We do have an extra week, I think, because there's a 5th Tuesday in January. So we'll be meeting on, I think it's February 2nd, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so February 2nd is our first meeting. Let's see, finally, want to end the evening here. All the board members got an envelope placed at their area here this evening from the Girl Scouts. And I was told about this over the weekend by Beth Hoagland, who's a very, very active volunteer here in the township and a long-time member of, been involved for a very long time with the Girl Scouts and with Levittown Fire Company, the auxiliary. But I'll read the letter here, and we are going to have some information on this on our website. And I believe also probably on the cable channel. Might have a slide on the cable channel that has this information as well. But it is about what's being called Operation Cookies from Home. As you probably know, it is Girl Scout cookie time. The knocks are on the doors, and different little salespeople, looking for ways to raise money to help themselves and help others. I'll try and summarize the letter here. Let's see. The members of Troops 2586 and 21157 meet at Northminster Church in Farrells Hills. We have a goal of selling 2,500 boxes this year. In addition to regular sales and selling to families and friends, we're writing to find out if you would like to take part in a special program called Operation Cookies from Home, which sends Girl Scout cookies to members of the armed forces who are stationed away from home, either around our country or overseas. and how it works. You pay for a box or boxes of cookies as if you're purchasing them for yourself. However, instead of receiving the box to take home, it's marked as a sale for Operation Cookies from Home. At the end of the cookie sale, the total number of boxes to be sent to the soldiers is calculated, and then the cases are shipped to them for their enjoyment. The program benefits the military personnel and also the Girl Scout troop, since it counts toward our total sales goal. And this is obviously asking for support, asking us to first off put this information on our website and our cable channel so people can see it and get involved that way, but also asking for our support. I know Mr. Snipes, you had just written a little message here. Do we want to, as a board, maybe allocate some money to buy boxes and have them designated as cookies from home to be sent to members of the armed forces, whether it's here or overseas? The price per box, I mean, $3.50 a box or $42 per case. So I don't know if you had any number in mind or just opening it up for discussion. Let board members.
I didn't, but at least a couple of cases.
Okay. Is there any?
Be happy to hear what another board member would suggest.
Okay. Any ideas?
I've already made my commitment to this charity.
Okay. Mr. Dents, any thoughts?
No, nothing.
Okay.
It's a good idea. I mean, I'm for sending them something, but
Okay.
I have no number.
Okay. 10 cases would be $420.
Sounds fair.
You mean a piece?
No, I mean as the board, not for each of us.
Oh, because I've already made a commitment for like 5 cases.
Okay. All right. But I'm thinking in terms of, you were thinking as an action as a governing body, correct?
Yes,
not
absolutely.
Not as individual supervisors, but as a governing body, as the Falls Township Board of Supervisors, would we be willing to?
Well, why don't each of us as a supervisor send it?
We'll dig in our own pockets, like Phil and I do.
Okay, that's fine. We could do that. That's no problem.
We can do that, but I was thinking we might want to, I mean, obviously they're trying to reach a certain target. Why not? What's holding us back as a Board of Supervisors from contributing as well?
All right. Well, would you want to make a motion? Mr.
Yeah, I think the
Strauss?
10 cases was a good idea.
Okay. 10 cases to be sent overseas to members of the armed forces. All right. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Okay. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Vislonsky?
Yes, because it's for kids.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gray, you gonna take care of that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Make sure they go overseas, right, Mr. Gray? All right. Okay. That's all I have. And so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.